my colleagues would never ever talk about this because they know if they do, they're... Welcome to Flaawsome Talk. I'm Kersti Flo. I am a journalist. I've been working in Hollywood for about 15 years now. I have about 450 interviews, I think, here on my channel. I'm sure you can find some of your favorite celebrities to watch. But today I just wanted to address some of the comments that I've been receiving recently. Some people have pointed out that I don't ask questions about the movie and the talent that I'm interviewing is there to promote their movie. You're right, they are there to promote the movie, but I am there as a journalist, which is a different thing. As a journalist, you have to have some kind of integrity, that's what I think. And I don't want people to tell me what to ask in an interview situation. I am trying to make an interesting interview to entertain people or to put something on the agenda. And I think that should be the job of every journalist. If you are there as a PR person hired by the studio, it's a different thing. I take my profession seriously, and sometimes that gets me into trouble. It's actually interesting because I remember an episode with Anthony Hopkins when I think it was for the movie Noah, quite a few years ago, and I entered the hotel and someone was telling me, he's in a bad mood, he doesn't want to talk about the movie. And I was like, okay, he doesn't want to talk about the movie because I think he didn't like the movie that much. Then I waited until I think it was after lunch was my turn to interview him. And then some representative just came up to me and said, I'm sorry, but he left. And I was like, he left? That's what happened. And then someone told me that he was upset with some journalists because they had such stupid questions. And I was like, wow. Okay, first of all, I think that's very disrespectful for all of the other ones that have, spent this usually on a Saturday or Sunday. So you take the weekend and you go there and you sit and you wait to interview people, sometimes for hours and hours. And he had basically thought, okay, this is boring for me, so I'm gonna leave. I do understand that sometimes it's boring to sit and answer these questions, but the thing is, celebrities get paid a lot of money to do this. And they also choose to be in a profession where you have to deal with these kind of questions and you have to deal with fame and being recognized. And the thing is, if you don't want to, you don't have to. You can just go off and play theater and you don't have to deal with it because most famous actors have enough money to not worry about their future at all. Someone also sent me an article the other day, which was it really hit me in a way because I could relate so much to what it was saying. It said, celebrities like Blake Lively are rude to journalists because they think we're the help, and it happens more than you think, and it does. I've heard stories of people who've been crying, after an interview. I had a friend or a colleague from Spain running up to me the other day at an event, and she's like, "Oh, I saw your Blake Lively thing. Oh my God, it reminded me of this situation and this situation." She told me about this one man who'd been so rude to her that she left the interview. She walked out of there and she ran down the hallway. She was like, I was almost crying. It was so horrible. And then a person from the studio followed her and said, "Oh, are you sure? I'm so sorry, but do you want to go back inside?" And she's like, "No, I don't want to go back inside. That was horrible for me." And so these things just keeps happening. It's been happening for a long time, and they've never had any consequences for the people involved. The people that couldn't behave properly, they get away with it. Because my colleagues would never, ever talk about this because they know if they do, I have experienced that I've asked questions that have been cut off in the middle of a sentence because I didn't ask about the movie. Like this, for example, happened when I interviewed Elton John.
Wow. So what is it like for you when you're on a stage? You must get so much adrenaline in your body and get a rush, and then you go off stage. How do you kind of balance off and get kind of...
talk about the movie, please?
Okay, okay. So
I had to leave Las Vegas. I flew there in the morning. I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I went back again just after the interview was done. And I was like, I didn't get the interview that I was supposed to do. And I had to tell the editor of that TV show that I'm sorry, but I couldn't deliver. And for me, as a freelance journalist, that means that sometimes I'll do an interview and I can't sell it afterwards. And then this happened when I interviewed Jason Statham.
Okay, so I saw this summer that you have a big birthday. I had no idea because you look so young.
I do?
Yes.
Must be the lighting.
Are you excited about that, or are you scared of like what? How is your relationship? Okay. Okay.
Oh, what?
No.
Oh, look at that.
Okay. Sorry.
I think it's quite interesting that you're not even allowed to ask someone if they're looking forward to turning 50 or having a birthday party. That is not a personal thing to ask someone. And it's just like these odd things of control that just makes things so uncomfortable for everyone. I was interviewing Jane Fonda once and I received an email saying, don't ask her anything political, which I thought, that's kind of interesting because she's a very political person. So I was kind of sure that this wasn't coming from her. And, as soon as I sat down, she started talking about the election and what went on about it. And I was like, okay, so this is definitely not Jane Fonda's idea that she's not supposed to talk about that. I do actually think a lot of actors don't want to talk about the movie all the time because they're sitting there all day long talking about what's your favorite scene in the movie? How was it working with this director? What went through your mind when you read the script the first time? What did you learn from your character? How did you research for this role? I mean, all these questions are so repetitive and boring, and I refuse to ask those questions. So my point is, you can really never win in these situations. How am I supposed to guess if he wants to talk about the movie or if he doesn't want to talk about the movie? If there's any touchy subjects there that they don't want to talk about, if there's a political thing in the movie, I have, like every single colleague I have had ended into trouble. For one time or another, you are going to run into trouble, no matter if you follow the rules or not, because the rules are so vague. I think my worst nightmare, it wasn't that this person was horrible, but I was at the Toronto Film Festival. I don't remember what year it was a while ago, but I was waiting to interview Bill Murray. I was sitting in the hallway with a bunch of other journalists and I saw him arrive. I think he was 2 hours late and he came with his little ghetto blaster. He looked like a lot of fun and I was like, okay, that's cool. I like Bill Murray. He's a character, he's different. And then we waited and waited and waited. And then I was told, oh, Bill Murray got this idea that he's going to bring the rest of the cast at a surprise lunch in Toronto. And we don't know when he's coming back. And I was like, okay, we waited 3 hours now to interview him. And we're just all of us sitting here. And everyone's just like, okay, yeah, that's fine, not wanting to make a big deal out of it. And I was like, this is not okay. And after 2 hours, he came back. Then we had been there, I think 40 journalists, waited 5 hours. Then he did 2 interviews and then he left. And they were like, oh, we're so sorry. He didn't have time to do more. He has to leave now. And we were like spending an entire day waiting for Bill Murray. Anyways, to end this at a lighter note, I wanted to show you a piece of the interview I did with Jane Fonda because I adore her. She's one of those people who's just so open and fun and relaxed in interviews. And so this is a part of one of my favorite interviews ever. The way you feel about love and what love is to you now, is it changed from when earlier in life, you think?
When you're young, you tend, or at least people like me, you tend to gravitate to the ones that are charismatic and brilliant and exciting. And as I've gotten older, like my most recent boyfriend, one day I just realized he's kind. Why didn't anyone tell me when I was young to also look for kindness? I guess I realize how important it is to feel that someone cherishes you. That they don't just like you because of the way you look or because you're famous or because you can support them or whatever, but they just cherish you. It's hard to have a robust sex life if you can't turn your head or you can't kneel or I don't know. Because in a new relationship, you have to be able to kneel.
That's true. Yeah. You're so amazing. Thank God for women like you. Because